Hey everyone, how you doing today? As mentioned in our daily financial news, we talked to our expert Jonathan Twomley at 7:30 Pacific. How you doing, sir?
I am doing great, Michael. How are you?
I'm doing well. So we've been on a trend recently where episode one is always about unemployment, the economy. Maybe we even sneak in GDP and New York, California reopening. All I got to say is more and more signs that we are standing clearly in the sun. We have left the tunnel of darkness and despair behind us. We can go ahead and talk about the unemployment claims. Came out at a low for the crisis of 553. Any thoughts on that?
Well, I think we're inching closer to the day when we stop talking about this.
Yes, I agree.
We're still there, but I mean, this trend is good. I think it's showing the effect of, the vaccines working and people being able to go do stuff again. And as I said, the interesting thing to see is when all the low-hanging fruit has been plucked,
Mhm.
where we are. Because I
Yeah.
think that this is still people going back to their old jobs that now that their companies are reopening. And we don't know where that level is,
Mhm.
whether it's 400,000 or 300,000 or what it is, where, uh, you know, the businesses that have gone forever are not
Yeah.
rehiring,
Yeah.
so we'll see. But I mean, I think this is obviously, this is, this is great news that it's
Yeah.
continuing to trend downward. And yeah, so
Yeah. There's a couple
all
more
right.
things that I think are important here that really, to me, shows that there's more goodness coming. So, in addition, today we had another important economic number reported, kind of Q1 GDP first print, right? This will be revised at least twice going forward, but it came in at 6.4%, right?
Yeah,
By
which
comparison,
is, yeah,
that's the highest other than that one Q2 or Q3 blip last year, which we won't talk about, that 30 some odd percent one was 7% Q3 of 2003. That was the last time we were above that. So 17, 18 years ago. Yeah. So
yeah.
6.4.
I mean, again, coming back from such a low base,
Mm-hmm.
and where the issue really was, like, you shut everything down, it's going to drop. Open it up, it's going to pop back.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Not surprised at all. But
Yeah.
nevertheless, this is good news, and
Yeah.
we'll probably see another quarter or two of that kind of growth too for this year, because
Yeah.
as things just continue to open up. So it's kind of one of those things. It's like every other statistic, it has some value, but
Mm-hmm.
like, don't read too much into it
It's the
either.
trend,
It
right? You got to watch the
Right.
trend. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the trend, and also it's, again, coming back from a low base, just
Mm-hmm.
turning the spigot back on.
Mm-hmm.
If we had, you know, if we were at full employment and then we had this quarter of like 6.7 growth, I
Mm-hmm.
mean, then we just be like, wow, like, what the heck just happened? What was that all about? That's amazing. It's either amazing or scary,
Yeah.
but I think
Probably
right
both.
now, right now it's kind of to
Yeah.
be expected given everything that's going on. But again, moving in the right direction is always
Yeah.
good.
I think there's a couple of things about this number. First and foremost, we are still below the peak of 2019 when you look at dollars. So we are
Yeah.
still technically in a recession. I believe that ends in Q2. A couple of numbers. I had a chance to dive into this number that I felt really good about. So obviously we're a consumer-based economy, 68.2% if you believe the numbers. But consumer spending was up 10.7% in the
Mm.
quarter. Most of that was durable goods, right? Appliances, TVs, things of that nature.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Huh.
What I thought was really cool and bodes well for my thesis of Q2 being even better is services, what you and I would call experiences,
Mm.
was only at 2.5%. So we took the last stimulus check, the ones that got it bought stuff. But I think what's going to happen in Q2 is we're going to go to experiences, right? Hotel rates are up, airline rates are up.
Mm.
All these things are pointing to people are getting out of Dodge. And again, why I think this is good, because if you play the next level, people have to hire ahead, right? They have to bring on more service workers, and that fourth lane of the economy that was shut. Uh, I believe I don't know. It's hard for me to say opens up fully, but damn near. And you add on top of that the two big states of California and New York. California fully opens, no restrictions, June 15th. New York, July 1st. Again, man, we are in the sun. It's about to get hot. If you want a job, you're about to be able to go get a job. In my opinion, it's. I think it gets really good in Q2.
Yeah. Well, What's really going to be interesting to see is new business creation, right?
Yes. True.
Because we're kind of in like in the when we've talked about this in the past,
Mhm.
but we're kind of in a unique situation where a lot of the businesses that went down uh, were like restaurants
Mhm.
and those kinds of businesses where you have people gather in crowds.
Yes.
And now you have a situation where you've got like these basically fully built restaurants that really don't need anything for someone to come in and open them again as a restaurant, other than maybe they want to change the color scheme
Yeah.
and rebrand it basically,
Mhm.
and that's it. And that's cheap, right? That's a
Oh,
couple
yeah.
$100 worth of paint, and
Mhm.
and yeah, it's really nothing, right? And the landlords are willing to make deals
Yes.
to get tenants in there paying rent again. So it is a good time, maybe the best time in a very long time, to start a restaurant. And thinking about places like, Manhattan, where the story for years has been like, you know, new up and coming chefs can't start restaurants anymore in New York because it's too expensive. Nobody can afford the rent.
Mhm.
Costs you, at least $1 million to like build out a new restaurant. In
Wow.
all the chefs have been going, first the outer boroughs, but that's become more expensive. They've gone like other cities. They've left the city entirely. They've gone elsewhere. Now all of a sudden, you know, with commercial rents the way they are and
Mhm.
landlords willing to make deals, um, it's suddenly got a lot easier. And if you have turnkey restaurants that can just literally someone can walk in, turn on the lights, and start business right away with little to no upfront expense, I think you're going to see a lot of new business creation
Yeah.
happening in that silo of the economy.
Oh, I
So it's
agree. I
going to
think
be really interesting.
that's where I'm at. I think I talked about that 4 or 5 months ago. Is where 2020 was the year of bankruptcies or shutdowns or whatever you want to call it. 2021 is going to be a year of grand openings, right? And it's a
Yeah.
different vibe. And yes, I understand it may not be equal, right? You shut down 10,000, you open 6,000 or whatever the ratio is, but still, when I walk by and see a grand opening sign, I feel better versus boarded up windows, right? It's
Sure.
the consumer psychology is interesting to watch. Trust me, a grand opening sign on your street, my street in Mountain View is called Castro. Yours might be, First or whatever it is. When you see boarded up windows, you don't feel good. You see grand openings, you feel good. It's the consumer is funny that way.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's all good. I mean, the
Yeah.
economy has a huge psychological component to it, right?
Yes.
So, and all of this feeds into that positive psychology.
Yeah, and I
Um,
think I think the person I think the I forget what the number is, something like $1.3 trillion or some number of excess savings. A lot of
mm,
that's going to get spent. I mean, not a lot. A fair amount of that's going to get spent this quarter and next quarter. And I think the consumer, what I say? I have the notes here. They did 10.7. Again, most of that durable. Man, it's going to be a blowout service number when they report Q2, in my opinion. So, any closing thoughts on this? I guess in general, we're getting better. It's healing. We should feel good about being in the sun, to use my analogy.
well, I mean, I do, just to put a little bit of context around
Mhm.
this. I was just reading this morning how the trend in New York City for coronavirus cases, because the vaccine people have really enthusiastically embraced the vaccine. They were, we were at the second peak was up to 6,000 new cases a day.
Mhm.
It's down to 2,000 a day.
Mm,
They're predicting that within a couple of weeks it'll be down to 600 a day.
that's good.
And I mean, when you see, they've now reopened the elementary schools for 5 days a week in person,
Oh, wow.
right? And
Yeah,
um,
it's all good.
and so it's all, I was hearing last night, New Jersey is also going now to, they're saying by September they're going to be basically all in person again.
Yeah.
So it's all those things are good, and they have like secondary effects, right? The kids are back in school. That means parents can go back to work,
Yeah,
right? They
exactly.
can, it just builds on itself. So all of this is good.
Yep. No, it's yeah, Q2 is I'm gonna put it out there right now. What is the 29th of April? So we still have 2 months left. We're gonna print 10% GDP growth in Q2. It'll be double digits. And we will officially be out of a recession, in my opinion. Very cool. All right,
All
Jonathan.
right.
Well, I look forward to topic number 2. It's gonna be an interesting one. Thanks, buddy.
Sure.